I'm Scott Russell.
Hi, I'm Melissa Gelanese,
This is Let's Chat.
and we're finally here again.
We are.
After
It's been
all this time.
a little bit of a break, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
we were just talking about it. Life just happens.
Yeah.
As I'm sure some of you all understand.
Been a bit distracted actually with my life, with my mum and goings on at the moment.
Yeah, is she doing all right?
No. So she's been in care for a long time, and I know I've spoken about it before with the issues with visiting her and whatnot. But she did go into hospital with pneumonia, and then I still had the issues of when she went back to the care home, Bupa Care in northern New South Wales. Had a struggle trying to get to see her without having to do rat tests and mask wearing and all that sort of thing. Man, it does test you. You really do work out where your line in the sand is, and I know, I found mine just temporarily when my mum is, when I'm being told that she might pass away, and she's so sick, So
Sorry to hear that.
we sort of half did a rat test, but not the way that it's supposed to be done.
Right. So now we can't use that now, can we? We'll have you in trouble. That was that text.
Maybe I did it, maybe I didn't.
That was that text. When I texted you, it was about that with your mum. I was like, just praying for your mum. And that could sort of...
You can use it.
Who you get.
I don't mind people hearing what I do.
Now, I know the global...
Got to play the game, Scotty.
I know the global head of finance for Bupa.
Do you?
I wonder if that'd get you in the door.
I don't want to play their games.
Yeah.
Any more than what I already am. At the end of the day.
She's in the UK anyway.
Yeah.
Aussie chick.
So anyway, I got in to see her. I don't want to make a habit of doing that
Rat
though.
test.
But yeah.
Well, you got through it.
I've said no to doing those tests for all the, the opportunities with work that have been thrown my way. That's been a condition.
Yeah, because
of.
For those that aren't aware of why you don't like rat tests, why don't you like rat tests?
Well, twofold. There's a biological reason, and there's the fact that I don't want it.
You don't like shoving things up your nose.
Well, that's biological. I won't stand for being part of the agenda, being part of it. I mean, you're submitting again, aren't you? Conforming.
Which is
the
all
word,
they
I
want,
guess.
right? It's all about
Yeah,
power
if we
play.
all said no, again, it comes down to that. If I'm trying to be a part of the group where I actually, walk the talk and say, well, if we all said no, then
no happens.
they've got no agenda to run.
Yeah. That's good.
So, but the other reason is it's to be seen, I guess, but I'm concerned about what might be on the end of the tips of the stuff that you got to stick up your nose. And I've already submitted to a few of them before I really knew what it was all about.
Going on? I've never had one.
Yeah, good.
I've sort of dodged them all.
Yeah.
I've never... Yeah, well, I won't make all my confessions on camera.
Well, I keep telling myself that my healthy lifestyle will detox, hopefully, whatever's been up there when I had to get on the movie set.
You seem pretty alive and well to me.
Yeah.
To...
It's going to stay that way.
You do have some moments of weirdness. But
don't we all?
Probably not from a rat test.
No,
I
I'd
think
say
you
not.
might have been born with that.
I'd say it's just me.
Yeah. But,
It's called being unique.
Yeah, unique.
I call it funny.
Well, I think we've all got our uniqueness, artwork
Absolutely.
of life. But,
Absolutely. I've listened to a lot of stuff over the last 3 weeks, even though we haven't been talking, just talking about one I'll get to in a minute, but just the importance of laughing in this time.
Laughter's the best medicine.
Humour.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot going on. I've sort of... So much. I mean, we talk about doing this program, and you kind of tend to focus more on Australia. I focus more on the US, and so I'm trying to drag you into the US perspective, and you're trying to drag me into the Aussie perspective a bit. And,
I think it's a good balance.
And we meet somewhere like Fiji, I think.
Yeah, somewhere in the ocean. I'd just like to draw your attention to the fact that we've got another listener up there, and every time we choose a park destination,
we get a bird.
We get a bird that stops and just wants to listen. Yeah. And I just wonder who or what it really is.
It's like in that movie, The Incredibles, wasn't it?
Yeah. But like, he's actually listening.
Yeah, he is.
Keeps turning
No,
around.
he thinks we've got a barbecue going.
Yeah,
so.
probably. He's like, "Where's the snags?"
Snags, yeah. Sausages for the foreigners. But
Tell us about what's going on worldwide, because I know
will.
you've got your ear to
I
the,
will. I'll get that
the ground.
started and see where we roll with it. But
Yeah.
no, I think. Well, I put a little video yesterday on some of that. I think it's just. It's an odd time. All these globalists have gone into hiding. You know, really since
They have.
since their thing in January, I haven't seen anything on any of them. The stuff I've seen's all old.
Yeah.
Nothing new's coming out.
The big corporates are resigning, and the globalists, no one's seen.
Susan
They're
Rice.
absent.
Susan Rice, I
Yeah.
think that's her name. I don't know much about her, but I know she was on the Obama administration.
Yeah.
She was largely responsible for the LBGT crap.
Yes.
She and a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
She's a globalist to her back teeth. Then Tucker Carlson resigns, gets kicked.
Gets kicked to the curb, but then gets a new
unexpectedly.
position. Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody's like, what? And I really think he's just too big a conservative voice, and they were trying to interrupt that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're coming
Yeah.
into this, it's all heading into what March is, I think, where the big election stuff really kicks in. They don't want that voice.
Yeah.
They're trying to get rid of it. And then the globalists, like the Susan Rice, who resigns on the same day,
Yeah.
she's in some think tank that advises policy.
Yeah.
So she disappears.
Yep.
And I reckon we're going to see, like the Brian Kemp, that's a governor of Atlanta, I think, that's from, he's up to his back teeth in the WEF. They're going to pull together a party, I reckon, that's Democrat and Republican. And it's going to be the Saviour Party. So they've got all these people off the radar now, parked in the background so they don't cop any flack. The politicians that are there now, I reckon they're going to burn them.
Yep.
Because they're all going to get fried when the economy
They're going to
collapses.
throw them all under the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all Biden is. He's just an idiot,
puppet.
really. So they...
He's like basically a dementia patient walking around
Yeah, you're
lost.
right. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I see some more together people when I go and visit Mum, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite laughable, don't you think? And I think that's the funny that's the funny thing. That's the thing I have seen over the last 3 weeks since we last met. I feel like it's all just a big circus. Like, it's so unbelievably ridiculous that you just have to stand up and laugh.
And it's so predictable when
Yeah.
you realise where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Like the Americans can't seem, and it's the Australians too, people can't seem to get it in their head. Your government is not making a decision as to what's best for your country.
No.
They're making a decision, they're being told what to decide
Yeah.
by people outside your country,
Yeah.
and they're just the local connections to make it happen, manipulate it, and get the laws into place to make sure it can all be.
Yeah, it's almost like you can actually now see, like they were invisible puppet strings before, but
Yeah.
it's almost so ridiculously obvious now that you can actually see the strings being pulled,
And
I
people
feel.
don't seem to care, but I guess people are going, what do you do about it?
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
we're all victims of it, really. We're at their mercy in many ways.
Yeah.
But I think, and it gets back onto Trump, I reckon he's going to get in. I reckon
I do too.
they did the Tucker Carlson to help undermine Trump and his
They
chances.
took Andrew Tate for a long while too because he had
Yeah.
a voice. Yeah.
Yeah, and he hasn't really come back strong yet. has
Well,
he?
he can't because he's still got the trial to go. They have silenced him, but I feel big things are coming there once that's over.
But
They've gotten
only
him
got
out of
to
the way
silence him.
temporarily.
But they've only got to silence him until the election's over, the presidential elections.
So what do you think will happen? Just say the election happens, because Tucker Carlson's still going to talk at the moment. He's still a voice. He may have lost that pedestal, but he's still a voice.
He
So
won't have the same following.
what do you think's going to happen when, just say Trump doesn't get in?
I
What do you
reckon.
think will
Okay, here's
happen?
my prediction, the optimal
Yeah.
prediction.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I reckon we're going to see the collapse of the US currency before the end of the year.
Yeah,
In the chaos, they're going to have this super squad of politicians
Yeah.
that are going to all come together and say, we're going to go cross party lines and be a new party or whatever,
yeah.
and we're going to save the world. And they're all going to be globalists,
yeah,
all WEF. The politicians that are in there are all going to be burned. That's
Mm-hmm.
why a lot of these ones are stepping away.
They're getting out before they get burned.
getting
on
out
the
so they
stake.
don't have a target on their back, because the Americans will be going after the lot of them.
Yep.
Biden will be tarred and feathered. And then,
Yeah.
then I think they plan to have these people come in with, we've got an answer and we're the great ones and look, a CBDC and all these sort of
If
junk.
it's even Biden, sorry to deviate and digress just a little bit. I mean, did you see that video that I put up? And that, like so many of them, did you see his
one?
little piece of mask-looking thing that you could
absolutely.
pull away? Like,
I think it is,
We
yeah.
say metaphorically about people wearing masks.
Yeah.
But I actually think I've watched
You
enough
can see
footage
the-
to now know that we're talking about legitimate latex masks on some of these characters. We don't even know who's underneath.
Hey, you've been in show business.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that
Yeah.
technology's there.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
they can put a mask on me, I'd look as good as you.
I don't know about that.
That's for our Canadian viewers.
They'd know. They'd know.
They maybe just know.
But no, seriously, yeah, the technology is there, and I feel like like the first one or two things that you might watch where you see this kind of technology in action, you sort of go, no, that's a bit far-fetched. Just like the chemtrails. The first time, Vince saw that, he was like, no, come on, you're telling me they're manipulating the weather. After 2 or 3 goes and, of looking at the sky and then a bit of re-education, suddenly it's a reality. We're actually, being hoodwinked everywhere we look.
Yeah, heck
So
yeah.
I would not be surprised at all.
Years ago, I watched the documentary type deal on those masks.
Yeah.
Before any of this happened. And
Yeah.
the mask technology they have is incredible.
Absolutely.
They
Crazy
literally can
incredible.
make you.
Yeah.
I mean, with you and I, they probably couldn't because of
Yeah.
the weight issues, but they could. They can make a man
Yeah.
look like a woman look like a man.
Definitely.
It's-
Yeah. Remember that movie from years ago? I remember watching it the first time, being shocked. Face Off?
No.
Oh, where you got to watch it. Basically, these two characters switch faces in this big crime movie, and it was crazy. You got to go watch it.
I know when you watch
Yeah.
Biden, there's definitely
It's too
definitely some
weird.
huge inconsistencies
Yeah.
on his appearances.
Yeah, it's too weird.
It's like, it's too
Yeah.
weird. But I reckon they're going to burn him. He's gone. They don't care. He's a senile old fool to them. I'm not saying he is, but that's what. And then I think they'll get rid of him.
Yeah,
They plan to put this super squad in that's going to be the saviours.
yeah,
But I reckon Trump, and that's why they've underlined Tucker Carlson. They've done everything they're doing is building towards undermining Trump. Everything they can undermine.
yeah.
But I reckon Trump's going to. I think there's going to be enough chaos that people are actually going to make a decision of, we need a leader, and Trump is a leader, and
Yeah.
he's a nationalist. It's pretty obvious. He's a
Yeah.
nationalist. I reckon he'll
He
get in.
is.
He's God's man.
Yeah,
If he doesn't get in, he will.
yeah.
If it's not him, it'll be someone.
If he's not
like him,
secretly
but-
already in,
Yeah, he
because we
could
know
be.
that the
He
election
might,
was
He might be
rigged.
the third party of globalists.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
I hope not. I don't think so.
I don't think that. I didn't mean to say yeah. I was just laughing about that. But I think he's been legit pretty much all the way. I mean, no one's perfect. Everyone, the agenda is part of making people, digging the dirt out and making people look less than they
Welcome
are.
to US politics,
Right?
right?
Yeah. But he's been pretty legit all the way
I'd
through.
love to. I mean, I think I sent a text. I'd love to take, not we'll do it, a group of people and you all go over there to one of those Trump rallies.
I
I'm going to be
would.
so electric. I'd
Oh,
love
I'd
to
love
do
it.
If
Yeah.
a chance comes up, if anybody's watching this and there's,
Yeah.
let us know.
Yeah. I'd love to do it. I'd be
Oh.
there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, heck yeah. It'd
Yeah.
be cool. Just
So good. Electric.
screaming and painting Trump all over your face.
He's got the most massive following, but there's a reason for that. Look at everything he stands for and what he doesn't care. He doesn't have a reason.
Right.
He's not there to eat from the trough. He's a multi-squazillionaire.
Yeah.
He doesn't need any of the other stuff that.
And that's why they got
brings
rid of
people
him,
to that
because he's
party.
not a globalist.
That's right.
But you think about
Yeah.
it too with him. He stands for everything that America stands for, really. I mean, okay, there's corruption maybe in some way. I don't know. I mean, he's not perfect, but welcome to America.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was living in Massachusetts, the governor's wife,
Yeah.
she was caught up on all fraud charges. They re-elected him. They don't care. It's almost like it's a
Insane.
badge of honour in America
know.
if you've got away with it,
Look at the Clintons.
the Clintons. Oh, good, no way.
We all know the truth.
I saw a
there.
thing that said, you know why they're still married? because then they can't be indicted. They'll testify on each
On
other.
each other.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, keeping America safe.
The two criminals. But anyway, so
Yeah.
that's my little recap of the US. So I think ultimately it's all going to come back around. I think we're going to have a window with Trump, and I think if an opportunity comes, I'm going to be over there screaming at a Trump rally.
I'll be there.
So yeah, that'd be cool.
I'll be there with my MAGA hat.
But now we can. We don't have a long time today, and somebody usually talks too much, so I'm trying
Who's
to keep her
that?
quiet and trying to keep her calm. And what have you got?
Oh, look, I was just watching this amazing interview last night with, she's somebody who's been creeping through, talking about Americans who won't keep quiet. Yeah, I've mentioned her before, Roseanne Barr.
Yep.
So she had that. She was the main character. Her character Roseanne as well in the 80s sitcom or whatever, and got.
I'm not that old, but yeah.
I watched the best interview with her. Who was it? Who was it with? Who did I watch it with? Michael from Cafe Locked Out. I was trying to think.
Is she in Australia?
No.
Oh.
But they do these awesome live interviews with people, and this one was gold.
Yeah,
so
nice.
she went right through her life talking about, she's just so candid and organic and real,
Yep.
just like her character. And she was talking about her character in that sitcom and how they like to rough it a lot because she directed that, and they didn't like to, make
Script it
things
too much.
incredibly scripted because they wanted to make it real, and that really came through.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of that sitcom, that was part of the reason why we loved it, because it
I
was
never
real
watched it. Did you ever watch it?
all the time. It was always on in our house. And, I remember, it was looking at that messy house in the background, and it wasn't picture perfect. And I think that's why so many people, and she spoke about that too, why so many people resonated with that character.
Yep.
And it's probably part of the reason so many people are resonating with her right now is because she's so real. She was cancelled a few years ago. And spoke about the cancel culture of now, and just how insane it was, and the stories that they twisted and turned to cancel her, and
Just
in fact,
liars.
yeah, the money that Disney lost cancelling her, and
They don't seem to care.
it's crazy. Yeah, and she basically talked about how the fact that she was very adamant and forthright about the fact that she can't be used by the globalists.
You know what I reckon they're doing,
Yeah.
just to interrupt?
Yeah.
So I saw an article today about Zuckerberg and the Meta and how much money that's losing, right?
Yeah.
And I've wondered, I'm like, he's ploughing under Facebook. I mean, what he's doing is absolutely insane as business-wise, because he's run off how many people. And I was thinking about that. I thought, I reckon the globalists have come to him and gone, all right, Mr. Zuckerberg, Mrs. Zuckerberg, you own Facebook,
Yeah.
plough it under and we'll give you the Meta.
Yeah.
And
Always
so
doing
he's-
deals, aren't they?
So
with
he's
each
working
other?
towards the fact that once this all resets, he's got access to the Meta.
Yeah.
I reckon they've given him the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
And said you're going to, and they're already selling real estate in the Meta for
Interesting.
tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Virtual real estate. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I reckon that's what they've done. They've done all these backdoor deals
Absolutely.
with
Deals everywhere.
kill your Facebook, we'll give you something even better. But just you're one of us, buddy.
Yeah. She actually mentioned, I can't be used. She talks a lot about God. You'd love this interview.
Oh yeah.
She talks about how, I guess I can be only used by God. She said in her words, I can't be used by any stupid asses in suits. You know how she talks? She's got that really rounded, crazy American accent, really loud.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
still there.
Probably New Yorker, is it?
She's aged very gracefully and lovely, but that accent is still there in fine form.
So what did she say?
Just talking about the problem with Hollywood, how it's all controlled and manipulated, and people are so addicted. It's the MK Ultra, and people are so addicted to she calls it the bullshit.
Yeah.
But that basically they thrive on that more than they do food and needing sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're easily controlled. People are easily controlled, as
Well, like they're doing
the
now.
main people in Hollywood are easily controlled, usually because they can be manipulated because they've caught them doing something and got it on film, and that's part of the problem too.
But it's the same now.
Yeah.
People are so caught up in this
Yeah.
whole agenda. They're
Yeah.
focused on stuff. It's like hypnotic.
Yeah.
They can't actually step back, if they could, they could see a bigger picture.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, I don't believe, ever see the bigger picture because they're so caught up in the dramas.
Yeah. And that's the way that they've made the whole when COVID first came in, I feel like that was part of it, really getting people in that fear base, making them fearful. And so therefore, when someone's in that point of fear, they're so easily controllable. That's what she was talking about
They
too.
really are.
Yep.
Fear will do everything.
Yep.
I think it's like I actually think a little spiritual principle. I actually think a lot of what we see in others is actually us.
Yeah,
And
a reflection.
a reflection.
Yep.
And I think a lot of
That's psychology.
I believe like a demonic influence is just an air of deception, a mirror of deception. And it's like when it comes with fear, it puts a fear mirror in front of us. We project fear back and it feeds it. And then fear increases and anxiety and everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I
Whatever
don't
you
believe
feed
it's-
grows. Remember I spoke about the wolf?
Yeah, and
Which
I think it's,
one
but I think it's
grows?
us. We're
Yeah.
actually fighting ourselves, and all
Yeah.
the demon's doing is if it's, and I believe in the demonic.
Yeah.
Who doesn't believe in a devil?
Yeah.
All it's doing is deceiving people and using their own power back on them.
Yeah. See, Roseanne
So-
actually mentioned that. She spoke about the evil and said something to the effect of, sometimes it's not even the people to blame. She goes, I don't blame them as so much. She said, I know it's the devil inside. And she's saying, I don't want to be in their circle. I don't want to be around them. I can tell she's really been on quite a spiritual journey over the last few years.
Yeah.
She's like, atoms are real. I don't want to be around these people. I don't want to breathe them in. Is how
Yeah.
she said it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do speak loud and proud on Instagram and social media about trying to get them to understand that they can be redeemed. She
Yeah.
calls it redeemed back to the human race. All these
True
people from
too, though,
Hollywood.
isn't it?
Yeah, she's
That's
very,
true.
very forthright about talking about Hollywood and the truth.
Yeah.
About who these people are and how they are. The
Yeah,
reality
there's
of
some pretty
it.
evil there.
Yeah.
I think too, evil's bad, but if you're trying not to be evil,
Yeah.
you're still feeding the same energy. To me, I think it's important to be free.
Yeah.
Is the freedom thing, and to
Yeah.
live in the freedom of who you are. And then I think that goes beyond the conditional, and it becomes unconditional love in a sense. So
Yeah.
it's like we become a work of art.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the people today that are feeding on the dramas are actually just as bad as the dramas
Definitely.
because they're
Because they're
giving.
causing it to
They're
grow.
giving it the energy.
Yeah,
That's right.
instead of making something grow and come to fruition of a higher vibe and frequency, they're actually feeding the low, bottom feeding stuff.
And I've listened to some of these people that
Yeah.
profess to be an answer. We want to start a new political party, and that may need to happen. But the attitude that a lot of these people are in are, if you really want to get down to the bottom line of it, I'm better than them.
Yeah,
And it's a cycle because then you become them.
yeah.
And then somebody does it to you. And we have a saying,
Snowballs.
the previous move of God always persecutes the next.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that true?
And that's
Yeah.
the same with politics. The previous move of freedom always persecutes the next.
So what do you think it comes down to then?
I think it comes down to us being true to who God's made us be in peace. And for me, unconditional love is when you love somebody, if they're doing, there's no wrong or right, is there? And you think
No.
about it. If somebody does something, I mean, if they're in a love, there's love there.
Yeah.
Somebody, breaks your favourite whatever.
Yeah.
You don't look at them and go, oh, if your relationship's on that level, you don't have a relationship. It's somebody that you're kidding yourself. You're trying to you're making a partnership work.
Yeah.
And I think when we have the freedom marriage, in that, it becomes somebody does something that may not be great. You're looking and going, well, hey, they actually, it's not, my view of you never changes
Yeah.
from what you did. Now I'm trying to understand, well, what led you to do that? What fear brought you to do that? What insecurity brought you to do that?
Yeah.
And it's
You're
stepping back
delving
from the
into that
emotion of
person.
it, and you're
Yeah.
actually looking and saying, you're worth the effort
Yeah.
of saying there's a
Pulling
reason
back.
why you've done that. It's coming out of some previous hurt, some previous abuse, some previous pattern.
Yeah.
Having the patience to do that, it's not always easy, I guess, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it is here. Instead of saying to these people, Now, some of them are just flat out evil and need to be gone. But I think if we came to someone and said, well, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And some of the globalist agenda is actually good. Well, we want to help the planet. Okay, well, can we actually all sit down and maybe talk about
The facade of what they're saying is actually good,
the
yes.
facade, yeah.
Because they're hiding the truth of what the agenda is behind this shiny surface that all looks beautiful. And anyone would want to take on with that, if that's all they've got, just that facade.
Facade.
You know?
And that facade is only, I think it's a lot of relationships. That facade is only really, life's all about me.
Yeah.
And you're just here for me. You're here to please me. You're here to take care of me. You're here me. And I think that's what they're doing to us.
Yeah.
They're coming and saying, we'll put up a nice facade so we can keep this relationship looking like it's active. But in essence, we're using you.
You know, it's really interesting that you talk about, when I questioned you about where it needs to go, and you mentioned the word truth.
Yeah.
It's almost like you've read my mind, because I was going to talk about the next thing that actually I remember Roseanne saying. Because Michael was giving her a rundown about what they went through during the Melbourne lockdowns and the way the police were and everything. And he, he made the statement, honestly, democracy is dead in Australia. And then she acknowledged democracy is dead in the West, basically, America, everywhere in the West. And then she said, liberty isn't possible without truth.
Yeah.
She was talking about, have we ever had democracy? Because Michael was talking about, are we ever going to get it back? And she said, have we ever had it? You can't get liberty without truth. Like, we really have never had the truth. We've been lied to for the whole time,
So I'll throw one in there that's a little weird. If it's too weird, you can ground me in it, all right?
Yeah.
But
Will I just go, stop?
I was thinking this week, right, about authority, which is leading into what you're saying, democracy, but authority. So a man in his home thinks he has authority. He doesn't. I mean, we saw that in COVID. Ultimately, they came into our homes, the authorities, and said, you have to wear a mask, you can't have these people in your home.
This is what you've got to do, yeah.
So who's really the authority? The authority's an illusion. The man doesn't have it.
Yeah.
The police don't have it, because over them is the government, the local state government. Over the state government's the federal government. Over the federal government is the globalists, the World Economic Forum.
Yep.
Who's over them?
Yeah.
George Soros.
Yeah.
He's the guy that's behind a lot of this.
And who's above him?
God.
This is what we keep asking. I think
he's
there's
doing
more.
deals.
I'm sure
He's
there's more.
doing deals with the Vatican.
Yeah.
He's doing deals with the Vatican.
Yeah.
And I like what the Bible says.
There's more string pullers that we're unaware of, I'm sure of it.
The Bible says our battle's not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, and the rulers of this dark world.
Yeah.
And I think we get so focused on the police. The police, it's completely out of their control. Somebody's over them. Somebody's over them. And it keeps going up. And ultimately, I think that's why this is about spiritual freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom is spiritual. There's no doubt about it.
Because we're getting distracted by the little tears that you're talking about. Okay, the police did this,
But
the
ultimately, they have no say.
issue.
They have no say.
Yeah. Yeah.
The police commissioner in the ACT, here in a state in Australia, the stuff he did was absolutely outrageous. He had no say.
Yeah.
He thinks he does, but they let him have the say.
Yeah.
But they come along and they'd remove him if he was not what they wanted.
Yeah.
And then you get to George Soros, and here's the thing, right? This is the offensive one that everyone maybe will get, maybe won't.
Yeah.
I think, I'm going to go religious for a second, right?
Yeah.
I think religion has made an industry of right or wrong. And a lot of Christians live in that. Now, there still is right or wrong. There's things that shouldn't happen and do happen. But
Definitely.
someone like George Soros, that was a Nazi sympathiser as a kid, that did all these rotten things, I think he's seen the futility of life. I didn't sit with him. I watched an interview where he sat with someone. Yeah, where he sat with someone. And they said, you destroyed this whole country, this little country that he did his thing in. And he just goes, and I've had a Jewish friend in Boston, he said the same thing. Business is business.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, well, how do you sleep
I've
at
seen
night?
this.
And he goes, business is business. And there's a truth there, right? Think about it. He's in a principle which I believe he's taken it to a ungodly way. But I think in a godly way, if people could get that same principle that George Soros is living, they would have the same amount of... It's like saying, I'm free. Jesus really, when he died, took away sin. He didn't just forgive it. He took it away. So people come along and say, well, hey, you're doing wrong. No, that's not unconditional love. If I'm under unconditional love, I can do anything I want. But I won't. Because if I care about
There's
that
that
person,
freedom thing you're talking about.
and
It's
I think
about-
that's where this all
Yeah.
goes. Where I think a guy like George Soros, in a polluted way.
That's a cop-out, though, to say business is business and blame...
Yeah, but in a polluted way, he's free. He's looking and saying there's no right or wrong. I'm just being true to who I am.
Yeah,
Now, if we could do that in a good way,
yeah,
man, the world would be a better place.
yeah, that's true.
If you could do that in your relationships, it's unconditional love, where someone, maybe not George Soros, but
No,
where people are coming along and
can't
saying,
relate that one.
unconditionally, there's no right or wrong. In
Yeah.
a relationship that's love, you're covered by love covers all, and there's no right or wrong. And I think if in our freedom movement, if people could get that concept to say, I can flow in an unconditional love, it's not a decision, it's actually who I am,
Yeah,
man, I reckon we'd change the world.
yeah,
Because otherwise, we just got people going to create another George Soros.
yeah. There's something else that Roseanne said that just you triggered me with.
I got
She
off
said
track with
something, no, it's good because it's flowing one into the other. She said something like, at the end, it's a real estate problem. And she just laid it down flat like that. I'm like, where is she going with this?
Yeah.
She's like, it's a real estate problem. It really is a real estate problem, and you need to take your real estate back. Your real estate is between the two ears.
Yes, yeah, there you go.
That's your real estate. You need to flush it out, clear it out, let your thoughts flow back and forward. Realise that some of those thoughts that are in your real estate really aren't even your thoughts.
Yeah.
So they've been prompted by all
Yeah,
the
you've been
stuff that's
programmed.
going on and
Yeah.
programmed. Take back your real estate. If everyone just takes back their real estate between their two ears,
How
we're
do you
on the
do
way.
That? How do you do that?
Well, it's about switching off, isn't it?
How do you do that?
Well, first of all, switch your TV off.
Yeah, that's a good start.
Keep going.
That's a
Get
good
out to
start.
nature. We've spoken about all this stuff.
Yeah. I know, like
Bond
I've got
together.
an over...
Find your tribe.
You know, I've got this overdriven brain that never stops.
Yeah, I
and
do
it's,
too.
And it's, yeah.
I really do.
And it-
yeah.
And then sometimes I'm just like, I've got to dump it somewhere.
Yeah.
And if I don't,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's...
You mean you've got a vent?
I've got to let it out.
Yeah,
I've got to try to, like,
definitely.
for me, often I've got to say it to somebody or I've got to
Yeah.
put it on paper and
Yeah.
send it. And I don't even expect a response. I've just got to get it out.
Yeah.
And once I get it out, I'm free of it. And then I never
Yeah.
think about it
See, a
again.
lot of people use journals to write all that.
Yeah.
Some people use vices like exercise, and as we've spoken about, some people use the journal writing, which I know if you do Sam's retreat that I've spoken about before, she's heavy on art therapy and journaling and things like that, you know.
Art therapy. Is that like
Yeah,
graffiti? Or,
it's pretty cool. I've actually done one of her art therapy classes before.
Graffiti? Is it? No, I think, I
Stay
think
tuned for some more of that.
You're right, yeah. Let's see the art. Where is it?
Yeah. You don't have
but-
to share it.
But no, I think it's just, and it's maybe a good word for all of us, is if you've got too much going on in your head, empty it. And
That's it.
There's not,
Take
don't
back
expect,
your real estate.
Yeah, don't expect somebody to understand it necessarily.
Yeah.
If you've got a gift with someone that does, well,
Yeah.
hey, praise God for that. But
Yeah.
if you don't expect that,
Yeah.
empty it, and then we just said, get out and walk,
Yeah.
take hikes. I take a heap of
That
hikes.
is part of taking it back, though. I really resonate with that,
Yeah.
the way that she used that metaphor. Like, we own it. All too often, we give our minds, our prime real estate,
Yeah.
for other people to manipulate and control.
Absolutely.
And, you
And
know, it's
camp
for
out.
us.
They own it.
We own it. We own it, though.
And
Take
then
it
they know
back.
the buttons. They just come and push that little button in our head, and we're like, "Rah."
Yeah, yeah. But it's
Off we go.
been happening for so long
Yeah.
that we are, you know, many of us are just born into that. So,
I'm listening to,
You
and we're not arriving in some position of self-righteousness, but you
Yeah.
listen to some of these, not this, but some dramas that people get into in this whole freedom thing. And you stop and go, oh my Lord, step back,
yeah,
empty the real estate.
yeah. Get back
And-
to the real issues.
And
the
they're
main
so caught up in
issues.
it, they don't
Yeah.
actually see that you need to prepare.
Yeah,
You need to be a place of peace in yourself, because when this hits, if you're not in peace in yourself, you're dead.
yeah,
You'll be suicidal.
yeah,
The currency collapses in the US. The world's never seen that on that scale.
yeah,
When that collapses over there, if people are focused on the offence of that, the drama of that, the injustice of that, you're dead.
yeah,
Get past it. You're being defiled.
Do you think some people often, delve into the dramas because they are actually trying to distract themselves from
Absolutely.
all the rot that's going on? Because
Yeah.
it's easier just to look at the smaller issues than to
And
face the big ones.
big one, which you don't know what to do
Yeah,
with it.
it's kind of like a sick sort of form of almost procrastination.
Kind of is, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you think about
I
it,
remember
yeah.
when I was at uni and finishing assignments the night before all the time. Don't know how I managed to pass the way I did, but I remember I used to be the biggest procrastinator. I'd do everything before I would do my
Yeah,
assignments
really.
and everything.
Yeah.
It's the nature of the beast, isn't it? In our beast.
It
Like
is.
we really, really procrastinate to avoid the big things, as opposed. So we fulfill ourselves and get by doing all the little minuscule and menial tasks, as opposed to doing the big ones because they're huge to tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's
I was a
true.
massive procrastinator.
Well, I had a guy years ago that I was. He wanted to take me behind the Iron Curtain for God reasons back in the day.
Right.
He was part of the underground church. And so,
Yeah.
anyway, we were driving around in Canberra. And he says to me something, and I would give him he set me up. Right?
Yeah.
So he would say something to me, and I'd argue with him. And so skillfully, he switched it around where he was actually saying now the other perspective, and I would argue with him.
Right. So you just look like you were argumentative.
And what he said to me is, Scott, I've realised with you, if I say black, you'll say white.
Yeah.
And I realised that for me, you talked about procrastinating. For me, and maybe there's folks out there like that, I function in an overdriven world. And if there's a lot of drama, I don't like drama, but I can function in it. And I think it's easy to...
Like high functioning, and
'Cause if
you've
it's-
learnt to deal in that way.
And for me, it's
Yeah.
been a process of being able to be still and quiet
Yeah.
and take a walk, because
Yeah.
I used to be when I worked at Canon years ago, there'd be a bunch of guys in a workshop. I'd go in there and throw cheek everywhere, and I love it. But if I went in there and no one ever said anything to me,
Yeah.
it'd kill me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us are like that. We have to feed on the drama. We have to have it going because it keeps us busy, like you just said. Now I'm distracted. I don't actually
From
have
the
to
big
face,
issue.
Don't
Yeah,
have to face
big
the
issues.
things that are in my life
So
that need to be
important.
faced.
Yeah.
It's been a process to stop.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's a word for some of you listening. We all need to
Yeah.
learn what our buttons are and how to stop.
Yeah.
You're
and
stopping
take our real estate back.
back. Your procrastination maybe was a case of saying take your real estate back. You need to
Yeah.
actually face what you have
Yeah.
now, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
back then you had to face, I have to do things that
Yeah.
I don't particularly want to do.
Yeah. Delve in. Don't be afraid to look internally and face those things. Don't procrastinate. Don't get drawn in by the minuscule things. Even in the freedom movement, they're all distractions, and they're often planted to try and get us distracted.
It's true, but it's life.
Do you want me to keep talking so I keep
life.
stopping you?
No, it's life.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about it in
Yeah.
just relationship for me. I realised that I fought for things. It's like the freedom movement. We fight to keep someone or something in our life. And I did that. And in the end, when it all went and I went into chaos, then I stopped and I went, hang on a minute, I'm actually in a better place.
Yeah.
And I became thankful in myself, and I thought, you know what, I'm not 80 years old
Yeah.
in a hateful environment. And to me, I think that's our freedom movement.
Yeah.
Sometimes God's trying to flush us, trying to say this is something that was for then, it's not for now. And I'm saying this to people out there because some of us, I think
Clear
this whole
lines.
freedom movement is a purging. It's a time of saying, well, you might have said it once, who do we want to spend our apocalypse with or something?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's
I
like-
don't remember saying that.
Someone,
Yeah.
I think we're looking and go, and that's sort of stuck with
And
me.
that's talking about ourselves too.
Might have
Who do
been-
we want to be even? Like even if it's
In
about
that.
ourselves, who do we want to be when we look back? Who do we want to look back on and be remembered for being, or even look on ourselves for being and functioning in this time?
I've found some people in my life, I've just let go.
Yeah.
They weren't bad people. They're great people. They're still there in a sense, but they feed
On the drama.
They feed a spirit I don't want to be in.
Yeah. It's
And
just
it's
about
just
rising
been-
above, isn't it? Going onto that next, that
think
higher
that's it.
frequency.
The hardest
Yeah.
thing for all of us is to stop and look at ourselves.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I think
definitely.
the best example of that is what you're
That's
seeing in
ego,
others.
though.
What you're seeing in others is you.
Yeah. Well, what you most get irritated about
it's
sometimes.
you.
Not always, But sometimes I do see that.
So
It's
I wrote a book
reflection.
on gifting, right? I'm going
Yeah.
to interrupt
How many
you.
books have you written?
3. So I wrote this book on gifting,
I've only got one.
and I said, yeah, you didn't.
Sorry.
You haven't told me what you thought of that one.
I'm a slow
No,
reader.
but, yeah, right. She hadn't even picked it up. But it's like what you're gifted in is what you're challenged in. So if you're a really giving person,
Yeah.
you actually get so upset about everybody else around you that doesn't
Yeah.
give.
Who-
Because you think
yeah.
everybody sees the world that way.
Yeah.
But God
That's your
actually puts you as
expectation.
God puts you as a giving person around people that are tightwads.
Yeah.
And you're there to give, and you're always like, why are these people never giving back to me?
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't understand it.
No.
You just think everybody's like that. But he puts light in dark places. And I think that's part of this.
Yeah.
That part of it is saying, you know what, I'm in the freedom movement, I've switched on.
So
Not
I'm
me,
a
but in
beacon.
your
I'm
family,
a light.
You're a light, you're gifted, and
Yeah.
you're going to be in a dark place.
Yeah.
Because when this all goes crazy,
Sometimes.
yeah, when this all goes crazy, you're the one they're going to come to. You're
Yeah.
seeing it.
I'm starting to see it now.
Folks in Canberra have told me their family that had been. A friend of mine, his dad was pro-vax. I said that word. Right, we get the video removed. We couldn't get our last
Censored.
one on. They kept whacking us off.
I've
'cause
been so careful.
You kept saying, I know, I just did it. But his dad went and got
the carrot.
and he's got a major reaction. And now his dad actually believes him. And because he said he's got a friend that's 15 years younger.
Yeah.
And they went and got done on the same day.
Yeah.
And his
Yeah.
dad and his friend, and they both got the same disease at the same time. And my friend's going, Dad, you do see it, right? You
Yeah.
and your friend went and got it on the same day. You've got the same
They won't.
disease. You're 15 years apart. He couldn't
No.
see. Finally, he has though. He's
Yeah.
just yesterday I heard he's finally now acknowledging that that's what's
It's
happening.
weird, isn't it? It's all about planting those seeds because we think those seeds aren't growing, but then suddenly, like I'm seeing questions coming from most of my friends are awake, but from my family, even I'm now seeing, they're starting to question and ask the, tiny questions. But for a long time, like my dad had a stroke, 100% blocked in this artery, 90 in the other, not long after his second one, didn't see it. My eldest brother had a heart attack not long after a jab, didn't see it. My other brother has not long ago, when do you get a 12 centimetre clot from a drip, from an intravenous drip when he had a minor operation?
But it's like, hello.
The shutters are there and they don't want to acknowledge. And suddenly I think I'm seeing, even my stepson's, so his best friend passed away about a week after, I think it was.
Wow.
24, super fit. Pretty sure he was around 24, super fit, like actual
And gone.
sports person.
Yeah.
Massive heart attack. So, and still a lot of people just refuse to acknowledge, but I am seeing a lot of people starting to go,
starting
now
to
hang
come
on a
around.
minute, you know what's really assisting with that awakening process? It's like a real reality check. It's the forest of the fallen that are going up everywhere. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's massive,
good thing.
massive one that they keep putting up in Canberra because apparently
And they
it's the
keep
most
pulling it down, I'm sure.
carroted city in the world. And
Yeah.
this forest of the
So
fallen.
we're even. She said it too.
Yeah, see what you started? Yeah, so lots of people are seeing that on their
Seeing it.
walks around the lake and that sort of thing. So it's
Yeah.
starting to jog people because they're seeing reality. They're no longer seeing or hearing just the stories. They're actually seeing the people with their profiles, their photo attached to these
Which,
real stories.
You know the horror story with him? His mother was put into a retirement village, home, on the proviso that she didn't have the and
The what? It's one of those games now to see if I can get you to do it.
you actually caught me. I was going to do it again.
I think that's a drinking game, Scott. That would be a lot of fun.
So anyway, she goes. So he said they had this family doctor for 15 years or more, and said we don't want her to have, and he went in there and he did it without approval from the home, without approval from the family, and she had a stroke. And then the place has written a letter, the home has written a letter to him saying, we never approved of this, where, and they're actually coming and going, this doctor, he's going to a lawyer now. This doctor went and did it in full knowing that the family didn't want it. the home, he had
That's
no
just
right to do it,
unbelievable.
and he did it, and the mother's had a stroke, and she's really struggling. The sister from all this, who was completely pro, she done a complete backflip now, and she's completely against it. And it's like
Wow.
he said, Scott, it's so funny. She's
Waking
talking
up.
like she's like been like this forever. And he said, oh, I've been saying this stuff, but it's like she's discovered it, and she's the
Yeah.
only one now. She's trying to
Yeah.
educate. But it's
We
great.
really,
She's got
yeah, it is.
So they are
That's
waking
going to
up.
happen too, and I feel like we really need to just be the humble ones and just go, yeah, and just nod our head. We cannot be the I told you so's.
So, no,
I think this is in this game of awakening. We just have to go. Yep, I'm glad
nobody
you got
wants
it.
that. It's kind of like
Quiet smirk.
I nearly said a remark. It's
Yeah.
kind of like with a
Don't you dare. You're going to bring up women.
sometimes you can talk to a certain part of the community. I'll just leave it alone. Trying to say I told you so never goes anywhere.
Dear.
So
Oh dear.
we leave that one alone.
I reckon we've got to go.
We do. We need
On
to
that
finish
note,
it off. Yeah,
do you like that one?
I do. But,
Shut down.
So we've enjoyed it. We enjoyed you folks listening
Yeah.
to our videos.
Love your comments.
Yeah, put some
Loving
comments
all
on.
that.
And if you-
Yeah. Missed it. Missed
Yep,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've missed it too,
It's
so we're-
conversation inducing.
We're back, but I've sort of been
Yeah.
out of town, in town. Melissa just gets like busy,
Busy.
and she sleeps in a lot. She's like,
How rude.
I
Definitely
wouldn't
do
know
not.
that actually. I completely wouldn't know. But anyway,
6 o'clock
Hey,
every morning.
thanks. Really, huh?
Unless it's a Sunday. Do not ring me ever before like 9 o'clock on a Sunday.
Sunday,
Not that I
yeah.
ever sleep in that far, but hey, I try. I
There you go.
try.
You are trying. You're very. She's very trying. That's
Oh God.
Sunday. All right, we're
We've
off.
enjoyed your company.
Bye.